It's another weekend of Premier League action come and nearly gone, with the Monday Night Football just kicked off at Fulham, I believe, but as they take on Brentford. But it's a weekend which has seen Nottingham Forest catapulted up to third in the Premier League, and it's been a weekend for the gentleman on to the side of me, one to forget. And Sean is now here as well. Here he is. Good evening, both of you. How are we?
Oh, good. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you, lads. Well done.
Josh is buzzing for this, as you can probably tell. But the joy about playing on a Sunday means you've got to wait about 20 minutes to talk about it, Josh. So we'll come on to that a little bit later on. Disaster of weekend. Apparently, Sullivan has spoken to Edin Terzic already. Obviously, was Slaven Bilic's number 2 during the last season at the Bowling, and then has gone off on his own personal career and is at Borussia Dortmund, I think. So, want to keep an eye on there. This is Terry Newsham. I hope you are well. Man United very interested in Kudus. They're willing to throw Mason Mount in as a sweetener. That's not a sweetener. I'm going to be totally honest. Josh's granddad's in. Hope you are well. Let's start at St James's Park, and Josh will come to you. Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0. The wheels are falling off the bus of the Gunners.
Yeah, I don't even think Newcastle were that great. It was just the game itself was just really poor. I think Arsenal sort of just dominated the ball, but just didn't do a lot with it. Newcastle, when they got it, to be fair, they were clinical on the break. It was the only real chance they had all game, and they took the chance. They defended really well, and Arsenal just couldn't leak them down. And that's sort of that's it really for that one. And I don't think Arsenal have won since before the last international break, and been a really bad run of form. And yeah, I don't know, some people are ruling them out of the title race already. I'm not too sure about that, because obviously City aren't the same this year about Rodri. Liverpool, I'm not sure. And they're going to last. I don't think they've played that great in most of the games. They've just been just about getting through, grinding games out, sort of thing. So I wouldn't rule them out just yet. They have been quite unlucky with injuries. Odegaard's still out. Saliba's only just come back, and he's still got Thomas Partey at right back. So they are struggling with injuries a little bit, but it's not been a great start, and I really don't see how. I wouldn't rule them out of the title race, but I don't see how they're going to win the league from here. Usually they've been top of Christmas last couple of years, or top first half of the season, and they end up bottling it. But now it's sort of like not even have a lead to hang on to. So I really I don't see how they're going to win it now. I wouldn't quite rule them out. It's far too early to do that, but I think it's a long way back already for them now, to be honest. And as for Newcastle, I thought they've had a dodgy start as well, to be fair. I don't think they played great any of the games. Wouldn't even say they were great against Arsenal. I think they're about 9th or 8th. But they and one have been grinding games out and getting the job done. So, yeah, it's not been a great start for either, to be honest. But I think it's too early to rule Arsenal out.
They're teetering on the edge, Arsenal, I think, and they've had a couple of injuries, and they've sort of felt sorry for themselves a little bit. And I must say, the football on Saturday was a dismal day up in Nottingham, but one of the highlights was, of course, the 12:30 kickoff was on, so we caught a little bit of it in the concourse, and Rice missed his chance right at the end, and of course, he came up on the screen. That was probably the biggest cheer from the away end all day, when the full-time whistle went there and Arsenal lost again. The wheels beginning to fall off at the Emirates. I know I put in lots of miles. Thank you very much. Great effort from me on Saturday. 2-hour drive it should have been from Terry to get to Nottingham. 4 hours. M5 shirt, M40 shirt to watch that drivel. I mean, yeah, I'm putting in the hard yards. Backseat driving is tough. It is. Sadly, Josh, I think Liverpool have a great chance, but they have to play the mighty Everton. Yeah, I think it's too early to call anything decisive, but Arsenal are struggling. Now we're going to mix things up and go to St Mary's, Sean. Now, I've done this deliberately and given you this to talk about Southampton, as they have picked up their first win of the Premier League season, long time coming, over Everton. A bit of a boost for Russell Martin.
Yeah, I think we said a few times they'd have earmarked these sort of games, 6-pointers. I can't remember if it was Southampton or... Yeah, because they chucked away a lead against Leicester, was it, the other week, 2-0 up? I think we called it then that they'd earmark this, and obviously they'd have to follow up with this one. they got hope it kickstarts their season a little bit. That's all you can hope. I'm not convinced it will massively. I didn't see the highlights of this one or anything, but I'd imagine it was very much a contrast in styles because Saints love the ball. I know Ramsdale had to make at least one save I've seen him make. Did he push it on the post, something like that? I can't remember. Maybe it was late on. But I do have a soft spot for Saints a little bit, and I do like a team that I say tries to play the right way. It's trying to play the modern way, I suppose, in that we get sucked into these fashions of how the game should be played. But I did enjoy watching them last year. But they weren't, even in the Championship, they were a little bit like this. In that league, they'd have loads of the ball and not do a great deal with it. And obviously, they managed to get promoted in the end. But I think they're a fair few points behind Leeds, who were finished third, I think I'm right in saying. I think any team near the bottom, when you pick their first winner or even get a few points or avoid defeat for 3-4 games in a row, they've got to just try and get a bit of a springboard from it. I'm not convinced. I've got no idea who they've got next. I've only actually just checked in on my own team's next few fixtures, but I'm not convinced. I think Everton may have been a ready sort of made opposition, if you know what I mean.
Here's something for you, Sean. They are away to Wolves, winless Wolves next week.
That feels like a bigger game for Wolves than it does for Southampton, really. Because if Saints go there and win, that's probably the manager down the road, I'd have thought. It's not a bad game to follow up your first win, is it? Let's be honest. No. But I think Wolves have got a goal or two in them. Do you know what I mean? You always think they could score one or two and then be poor. And I don't know. We'll come back. We'll be interested to look. Now you've mentioned that game. We'll be interested to look at that next week. How that ends up, to be honest, because I couldn't call that one. It is if the manager can get Russell Martin can get them up for that game and somehow tighten up at the back, and not because I think they are relying on Ramsdale a little bit at the back to keep him out the net. Because that was probably quite a coup to get him, to be quite honest, come to the club. If they can just tighten up a little bit, they could still get something. And even a point there might not be a bad point. Because although it's hard to predict the top, I think if we try and predict now the top 6 in any order at all, I think it's virtually impossible. Yeah. I think if you look at the bottom of the table, I think that's nearly as tough. We think the 3 teams who come up would struggle severely, and they probably will. But I don't think many thought Wolves would be as low as they are. Everton, do you know what I mean? It's very, very difficult to start trying to predict how it's going to go at both ends.
Absolutely. And there's the contrast between the 2 games we've started with at the top and at the bottom, both interesting and intriguing as ever. I see some comments. Terry says 3 points for the Toffees this weekend. Well, I should think so. I'm so terrible, but we are awful. No plan, no idea. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Kent says we was awful Saturday, terrible performance, and I worry about Everton could get very sticky. Not confident at all. Nice to see you, Kent, on Saturday as well. I agree. 6 points. Here's a 6 point. We're the same. Clueless, toothless, useless. You've missed spineless, Terry. That's the other one you've missed. Spineless as well. Next, we'll go to the Vitality. Now, I was keeping an eye on this at one point in the 3 o'clockers. Liverpool were losing and Man City were losing. Liverpool prevailed. A fantastic weekend for the Scousers. Not so much for Arsenal or Man City, as Bournemouth, for the first time in their history, Josh, have beaten Manchester City.
Yeah, at one point I was watching Soccer Saturday, and at one point they were saying Arsenal, City and Liverpool haven't lost on the same day since 2002. I thought it's going to happen, but Liverpool managed to turn it around. But this one, apparently, I didn't watch it on 3 o'clock, but apparently Bournemouth, they battered them really. I've seen the highlights, and they could have been 3 or 4 up. They missed a few sitters, including an open goal at 2-0. And it just sounds like they absolutely pummeled them really. City had a few late chances. I think Haaland missed a really good chance at the end. Apart from that, I've heard that the best team won really. And Bournemouth, they've been really good last few games. They beat Arsenal, they got a point away at us, and now they beat Man City. I just think they're the type of team they can beat anyone on the day. Bournemouth, they really can. I think if Bournemouth played Real Madrid on the day, they'd probably beat them. But then they're the type of team they'll go and lose to like Southampton away, or I think they got beat to with Leicester 1-0. They're the type of team that'll do that like right straight off the bat of beating Man City. They're a really funny team. But on the day, I think they will beat anyone. I think they may have an outside shot at top 8 this year, Europe maybe, because I think what Iraola's done there is really good. And I'm surprised United weren't looking at him for that job, because I think it won't be long until he gets a big move somewhere else, because he's done well everywhere he's been. And what he's done at Bournemouth looks like taking him into an established Premier League. Well, he's already got them as an established Premier League side now, and he could be taking them into the top half, and who knows, potentially Europe. I do think they could have an outside shot at that this season if they keep playing the way they have been last few weeks. But they are quite inconsistent, as I say, the type of team they will lose to someone like Leicester or Southampton like a week after a result like this. But yeah, I think they've had a great start, about 8th or 9th now. So yeah, I think they'll be really good this season. As for Man City, I don't really know what to say about them. Obviously, we know they're going to struggle a lot more about Rodri. I still think they should have enough to win the league in the end. I'd say Arsenal, they've had a ropey start. Liverpool, I'm still not convinced by them. They've won most of the games, but they've sort of grinded a lot of games out, and they haven't really played anyone yet. But they were lucky to get a point at Arsenal. They were lucky to beat Chelsea. Apart from that, they haven't really played anyone decent. So I'm still not fully convinced by them. So I think City should still have enough, but it's not been the best of starts for them either. They've also scraped over the line and grinded a few out as well. We know what they can do second half of the season. You can easily just go 15, 16 games unbeaten second half of the season and end up winning it, which will probably happen again, to be honest. But yeah, I don't think any of the teams who people have put in the title race have started great. It's going to be really tight this season, but I still think City eventually should have enough to win it. But yeah, it's definitely alarm bells ringing for a few of the ones at the top.
Yeah, I'm pretty glad Arsenal have had the start they had. Otherwise, I'd have been a little bit concerned. And of course, all the best teams lose to Forest. So Liverpool are looking good, and they're doing pretty much most of the things that they want to do at the moment. And yeah, look, there'll be tougher tests to come for them. Can they get through it? We'll see. We'll see. But it is interesting. Nevertheless, Geordie, thanks for joining us. Hope you are well. Lopetegui not good enough for this team, which is more European trophies than Arsenal. Wow, there we go. There we go. See, still buzzing, I can see, from that win against the Gunners. Right, we've got to do it, haven't we? Nottingham Forest 3, West Ham 0. 2 defeats with a deficit of 3 in as many weeks. It's yeah, very, very poor. The fans seemed a little bit muted. As soon as I walked in, I just got a feeling about 2:15. I think we got in there, and I just felt everyone seemed a little bit resigned to what was coming. There wasn't too much of an atmosphere from us. And as soon as the first goal went in, everyone was like, "Oh well, there we go, job done. We just will start the car now." It was really poor. Forest were good. Impressed me. Always like going to the City Ground, proper atmosphere for me, best atmosphere in the Premier League I've experienced both times I've been. It's excellent there. And they had the performance to back it up. Listen, it wasn't rocket science. 2 pacey wingers, put a target man in the middle. We had 3 centre-halves on that pitch, and a big 6'6" centre-half still managed to, centre-forward, still managed to find himself in 2 yards of space in the middle of the box. 1-0 Forest. There we go. Poor for the second goal. Third goal was brilliant, but the game's done by then. Anyway, we called for Somerville to start because he turned the game around against Man United, and he does absolutely nothing and is hooked at half time. He makes a lot of snap substitutions. Lopetegui, he never gets a starting lineup right, but a couple of weeks he's got himself out of jail by subs at half time. This didn't happen. Alvarez completely hung the rest of his players out to dry, as he did a few weeks ago in exactly the same scenario at Liverpool away. I, for one, went mental, as well as about 3,000 West Ham fans, because we were in line with it. We could see him coming in on a yellow card, sliding in. Absolutely ridiculous. Down to 10 men. Job done. By that point, we all knew what was coming. And yeah, another dismal day. Fan base up in arms. It just is what it is. Resigned to defeat. I said to Nigel before we went in, I said, we'll lose this 3-0 today. And I texted him after and said, told you. I just got a feeling as soon as I rocked out there, I thought we were going to lose this. And I said to Nigel, 3-0, and it was. Sean?
I'll let you choose. Which direction do you want me to go with? What do you
Not
want
the
to talk
managers. Talk about the game. Go on, just talk about the game.
about? You said about Somerville. I know we did like a joint Tottenham West Ham team the other week, didn't we? And you went with Somerville just because he bit different. I watched a lot of him last season. Well, a hell of a lot of him last season for Leeds. Daniel Farke at Leeds relies on individual talent to probably get him out of jail a little bit, or he did last year. And that's why he had a great record. Because it was give him the ball, run at him, shoot. In the Premier League, you probably need more than that. And I think how your transfer window worked out, because he came in reasonably late, didn't he? Sort of a surprise. Tells me he probably wasn't the first choice, and maybe a little bit of a let's take a punt on him player sort of thing. So he's probably a work in progress, which probably is not what you need on the field right now. You need players that are fully committed, in tune with the manager.
I don't think anyone's in
their
tune
roles.
with the manager, to be honest.
So,
Sean.
yeah, that's your problem. You've got talented players you had the last season or two, not quite in tune with the tactics and what the manager wants. You're sort of crying out for a little bit of individual flair. He probably at the moment doesn't offer a lot more than that. If he's not going to be running it, if he can't beat his fullback, tuck in and have a shot at goal, or beat his man, at the moment, I don't think you're going to get much more than that out of Somerville, because I've seen what he's like, and it's a big step up into the Premier League, and I didn't see a lot of his link-up play and team play. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. He might be a slow burner sort of player. Obviously, the Alvarez tackle is sort of one where you can't help think, hang on, have you done that on purpose? Do you know what I mean? Whereas that's stupid.
He did it exactly the same thing about a month ago. Oh, I just couldn't believe it.
I can picture the tackle. I'm just trying to think was the fullback out of position when he slid in?
So it sort of opened up on the left hand side for the winger, and Alvarez came across, and I could see him coming across, and he just slid in, took him out, got no one in the ball, second yellow card.
Yeah. Obviously, you were very fortunate last week. Like probably a point. If it was a point against Man, it probably wouldn't have been the worst point in the world in hindsight, but you got a win. Do you feel sorry for the manager to a tiny degree that you're 1-0 down when he got sent off, weren't you?
Yeah.
Do you feel sorry for him a little bit? Obviously, I'm assuming you offered literally hardly anything going forward after the sending off, really. But that was on like the 40th minute or something stupid like that. It's like, I'm not saying he's got a future at the club. I think people wanting him out is probably going a little bit too early, because. But I know this sounds ridiculous, but for most of West Ham's history as a football club, and I'm not saying you should accept this, you have been slightly struggling to a certain degree and frustrated. So you're sort of back to what West Ham have been like for as long as I can remember them, a little bit at the moment. So I'm just wondering whether the manager does deserve a bit more time than some of the fans are giving him.
I think he's been hung out to dry by some players at some points. Alvarez on 2 occasions. We were in the game up at Liverpool in the cup. I think we were a goal behind and well in the game when he got sent off. That killed the game. And again, we were still, you could class in the game. We were never going to get anything out there. But that put the final nail in the coffin effectively from Alvarez. Look, I don't know how much he had to do with recruitment, but I'm going to be honest, it doesn't look like his players. It looks like he's just been plonked 11 players or 15 players, and he's been told, right, off you go.
I
don't know.
I could be wrong. I'm not, and I've always the chap that's getting in the players, is it Tim Stuyton or something like that? I can't remember his surname. I'm not convinced all of his recruiting has been great, if I'm honest, and I'm not convinced the amount of recruiting he's done. When I said about you growing the squad possibly a season too late, I'm not convinced. And I said it might be a tricky season this year, trying to keep everyone happy with no Europe, whether that's happening or not. This is just me picking fault. I'm not a huge fan ever of a director of football, whatever name he's got attached, in the tunnel, high-fiving players. That's just me. You might think it's no big deal. It just, to me, I just think I just feel like it might be slightly undermining.
He seems very involved, and
I don't like it. And how I feel a little bit, because obviously you've got your head coach, he's going to be recruiting the next coach if there's a next one. I know this might go on behind the scenes, but when it's on the camera and the players are warming up and he stood on the touchline looking at the warm up, it doesn't sit right with me, if I'm honest. And you know full well, if the players don't like the manager, who's the first one? Who are they going to go to? They're going to go to the director of football. This ain't working. This wasn't what you promised when I come to the club. Blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
Now, that might go on at every club who's got one of these, but they just stay up in the director's box. I just think on match day, pop your head in after. If you win a game, pop your head in. Well done, lads. That's fine. I'm not a fan of seeing photographs in the tunnel. Was it at Tottenham last week when he was high-fiving Newcastle coming out? It doesn't sit right with me. He might be doing a brilliant job recruiting. I might have got that wrong, but I don't. The involvement. You're not the coach. You're not the assistant coach. You're not the manager. Say good luck. Get off the coach. Good luck. Go and have your prawn sandwiches in the director's box. I just don't think it's probably helpful, to be honest.
People have raised a question with that, and I think personally, my assessment, I'm not a huge fan of it. It doesn't bother me too much. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's well documented that Lopetegui wasn't Steiden's first choice manager, and it almost feels like already he's like sort of plotting who's coming in next. We will move on. We'll take some comments and we'll move on. But it seems like already he's like, right, who's going to replace this fella, because he's going to be out the door very shortly. At least Edson showed some fight, if not a touch misguided, very misguided in the end. I mean, you could place the same argument on Kudus the other week, who's going to probably get himself a prison sentence, what he did. But
but I forgot the Kudus one. What I just said then. Both of them are so ridiculous. The red cards, almost like they were trying to get sent off.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Like both of them are that stupid. I don't know. They were. Yeah, you'd raise suspicion. I know Paquette is the one getting done for betting on himself getting booked, but when you see red cards going like that in, you think.
That was rather amusing as well. Paquette got booked for something daft again, and everybody like cheered. It's rather amusing. That is another ongoing issue. But let's go. Come on then, Josh. It's your favourite time of the show. You've had about 5 minutes there to prepare yourself. You knew it was coming, right? Spurs 4, Aston Villa 1. I'll let you go first, Josh. From your Villa perspective, is this a slight blip and unravelling? I mean, all the best teams go away to Spurs and go a goal up and lose 4-1. So you can take that, Josh, right?
Yeah. It's definitely just a mini blip. But what's just really annoyed me is that in the cup in the week, we had Crystal Palace at home and chance to get to the cup quarter final. Obviously, we haven't won anything since 1996. So I think what most Villa fans want is just a trophy.
Not when you were sat on it last season, binning off the conference, Josh, because you wanted to win the title. No. See, you're changing now.
No, I said that for a once, but now we've got in the Champions League. I'm the same, to be honest. But basically, I don't too much mind the team he put out with a rotated team, but on the bench he just left all the kids at the whole first 11. Were just left out the squad completely. No Ollie Watkins, no Yoda Tielemans, no Luca Dean, no Ezri Konza. All of them were left out the squad. So if things weren't going to plan like they weren't, we had nothing on the bench. So when we were losing, he just brought all the kids on to try and so basically just forfeited the cup basically, because he just left the whole first 11 out the squad basically, resting them for this game, and then that's how they perform after they had over a week's rest, which is just the most frustrating thing. If we go with the cup like that and completely forfeit the cup, then I'd expect just at least a decent performance, even if we get beaten the weekend, and then we get that. To be honest, first off, I don't actually think we were that bad. Alan Smith on commentary, I thought all he was doing was just slating Villa, really. Like, even first 10 minutes just saying, oh, Villa haven't been very good here on the back foot. I thought we had the better chances first half. You had all the ball, but I thought on the breakaway, we got in behind a few times and had a couple of chances. Ollie Watkins missed a really good one. If he connected with that, probably 2-0. Morgan Rogers played him in, he was clean through, and he hadn't scored. In the first 10 minutes, we got in a few times as well. We weren't great by any stretch of imagination, but I don't think Spurs threatened us at all. Can't think of one clear-cut chance or shot. Well, there's a few shots over the bar. One clear-cut chance Tottenham had first half. I didn't think we were too bad. We defended quite well. Got in behind a few times. I thought we were okay. And then second half, probably the worst second half performance I've seen under Emery, to be honest. We were just shocking, really. As soon as the first goal went in, you knew what was going to happen. And then he takes Son off for the Charleston, which I thought was a bit of a bizarre decision by Ange, because he was running Matty Cash ragged all game. I thought first half did all right with him, but second half, as soon as he just ran at him a bit, he just looked shell-shocked. And then Richarlison comes on, and I didn't even think he looked that great, to be honest. And then we still get torn apart, and Dom Solanke, you just knew he was going to score. He loves a goal against Villa. But yeah, second half, we just had no control. We couldn't get out. We seemed to struggle against teams who just hound you and press you, don't give you a minute on the ball. We seemed to struggle against them type of teams because from the way we play out from the back, we really seemed to struggle playing against teams like that. And it's happened again yesterday. And then eventually Morgan Rogers went off injured. He brought the run on, went 2 up top, and we were still trying to play out from the back. I'm just thinking, like, you've got 2 strikers up there, like, and your 2 centre backs with Ben Davies and Draggers and whatever his name is, the young lad. And I'm thinking, like, just they can easily be got at. Just go a bit more direct. You've got 2 up there, but we were still trying to, like, play out every time. Like, when the Spurs, like, really good press. I'm just thinking that's just suicide, really. Like, and we just played ourselves into trouble. Same thing happened against Crystal Palace. A mistake, just a sloppy ball out in the back from Carlos, and we concede from it. And then Pau Torres, the mistake was just horrendous, really. I mean, he gives the ball away the first time, Spurs gives it straight back, and he gives it away again. Well, that's just unforgivable, really. We had 2 chances to play the ball, and he cocked them both up, and we're made to pay, and that's 3-1. Then it's game over. But second half, we had no control. We defended shockingly. It was probably the worst performance I've seen under Emery second half, as I say. Probably worse than the performance last year against Tottenham at home when we got beat 4-0. But yeah, I'd say for one of the first times, I'd say that loss was on Emery yesterday. I just thought some really bizarre decisions again. Taking Rodgers off when it looked like he wanted to stay on. He's saying he wasn't injured. He took him off, and then bringing Duran on, and still not really changing the way we play. Setting up with John McGinn and Jacob Ramsey out wide, where we've got no real outlet or just no natural winger on the pitch in general. So we've got no one really to run at the defence. No pace in the team, no width. Digne, he plays a bit like our winger, but he's just got no pace. So when he gets in behind, we just look a bit lost. So without a natural winger playing, I just don't think the system works, really. John McGinn out wide, he's not a winger, he can't really play there. And on the other side, I'd say you've got Ramsey, who's more of a number 10, and then Digne opening, he's just a fullback, really. So when Leon Bailey doesn't play and he's out of form like he is at the moment, I just think the system just doesn't work at all, really, because we have to play John McGinn or Ramsey out wide or both, and it just doesn't work. It's not natural wingers, and we have no whip or pace in the team, and I think that definitely didn't help us at all yesterday. So I thought that setup was a bit odd. I thought, what you call it, it's just a shocking performance. Not really much else to say, to be honest. I was fuming yesterday after that, to be honest. I didn't even watch the R4 game after that. I just couldn't believe it after what we had to go through in the week of that cup game, and then putting a performance like that's just really frustrating, but it's one of them.
Wow, I think you covered it, Josh. Sean, take a breath, Josh, firstly. Have a drink.
I will, actually.
Sean, you've got a couple of minutes from your perspective. How did you see it?
First half, I was watching it. I thought it was a bit of a carbon copy of the North London derby of Arsenal. I thought we were allowed a fair bit of the ball, but didn't really create too much. Villa were the same as Arsenal, sort of set their formation out quite good and stifled us to half chances. And as I say every week, teams will always get a little chance against us. The goal we conceded was a very familiar goal from a corner, which I blame entirely on zonal marking. Since zonal marking has become a fashion, God knows how long ago, I think teams have often looked a bit confused how they're going to do it. And when we got a keeper, which people think he can be got at, doing zonal marking means you don't man mark the player on the keeper. It seems mental to me, but there you go. If I was Josh, I wouldn't be too as annoyed as he is with the Villa performance second half, though, because when Tottenham go through the gears and Ange makes the tweaks, which he did, they'll do that against anyone in the league at home. The away form's not great. At home, they'll be as good at home as what Liverpool are, as Anfield and Man City are at the Etihad this season. They are that good at home, and we've taken many a team apart, and I think we'll destroy many more as well. The away form is not very good. That is a worry. I've said since about the second or third game, well, probably the first game of the season, we should be on more points than what we've got. And when you see how well we can play in the second half, and Villa, you might think Villa looked shocking and poor, but the bottom line was they couldn't handle Tottenham at that style of football and at that pace. They couldn't play out from the back. I understand maybe they should have gone long, but Tottenham are probably one of the fittest teams in the league. Pape Sarr is an example of that, how he wins the ball in midfield. You go long, they're going to come out and attack the ball. At home, we're just a very, very good side. And again, we beat Man City in the Cup in midweek 2-1. I was a bit disappointed we didn't score a couple more against those in midweek. We had the backs against the wall a little bit the last 5 minutes to see out that one. But at home, we are a very good side. It is just the away form, which I'm just hoping come May doesn't be the story of our season and frustrate me, really, because at home, we're as good as anyone. I looked at this weekend's fixtures. I try not to look too far ahead because the amount of teams slipping up all over the place. You can't predict results, but I think it's the international break after that. How the fixtures have come out, we've got a chance to be third or fourth in the league going into that. And I honestly think if we're third or fourth in the league, then that will possibly be a bit more of a true reflection of how I see we've been this season. We've chucked in about 3 or 4 shocking 45 minutes performances. We've lost 2 of them when we chucked it away at Brighton, and we were awful against Palace last week when I couldn't come on. Other than that, we've played very well at Newcastle, couldn't finish our chances. Played very well at Leicester, couldn't finish the chances. Did okay versus Arsenal. They just got a very similar goal like you've seen at the weekend. We just got to improve the away form. I do think the home form is going to carry on like this because we are just good at home. I think it was McGinn that commented how loud the atmosphere was once we got one at the weekend. So I think we've got a lot going for us at home. We have got a few injuries coming here and there. That's the reason why you had to take Son off on 55 minutes because when he come back again, remember he come back against your Jake and he tore you to pieces. Yeah. He was injured again after that. So he's protecting him a little bit. We were away to Galatasaray in the Cup on Thursday. The nature of this Europa League now, we've won the first 3. I would just literally send the weakest team out that you could possibly send because the result's not important. And we're getting a few injuries creeping. Like Romero went off injured. He got injured booking himself. Then they kicked someone. Van der Ven's out with a hamstring injury. Richarlison done a hamstring assisting the second Solanke goal. So we got to be careful, but we should be around about the 4th mark. Based on performances, based on how good we've looked. Well, put it this way: we're a high-scoring team in the league now. We've got the 3rd best defence in the league. Do you know what I mean? So the stats back up where we should be, but we've just chucked in a small handful of absolute stinkers, and they have mainly been away. So we're a strange team. We are on our day one of the best in the league. I mean, no doubt about that at all, and we proved that. Villa looked a little bit probably like you did a few weeks ago, Jake. Just a little bit shell shocked when we went through the gears. Do you know what I mean? And it's frustrating to lose game 4-1, whoever you are, I know, but sometimes you got to think this is a hard style to play against when they're firing on all cylinders. Do you know what I mean? We don't fire on all cylinders all the time. Like the first half, he had to make tweaks. He's had to make tweaks in other games. We did it against Brighton away for 45 minutes. Then they tweaked it against us and they come back. So we can be got at. I'm not daft. But when we've got a 45 minutes where we're flying, most teams or any team in the league is going to struggle.
Yeah, and that sort of contrast from home and away. And yeah, when you get ahead of wind up and a bit of momentum at home, you're difficult to stop, as both of us have experienced in the last couple of weeks. There we go. We'll bypass the Man United Chelsea game because it was pretty dreadful anyway. I was getting all geared up for a good game and I was disappointed, as was Gary Neville on commentary, I think. But there we are. We've got one more weekend before the international break. No, we haven't. Have we? Yeah, we have. Yeah, one more.
Yeah.
One more weekend for the international break. Thank God for that. Roll on the international break. Bit of a nice relief and break. So yeah, we've got Everton next weekend. Big game. And there's some big games at the top and at the bottom next weekend. So gentlemen, I will see you next week. Thank you very much indeed, as always.
No problem.
No problem.
And from us, go and check out all the content from Saturday. The vlog's just got over 10,000. So if you want to go and see me suffer, you can go and watch that if you like, alongside the other 10,000 people, and match reactions, all sorts else. Go and check out my thoughts and experience from what was a dismal day in Nottingham. Thanks everybody in the chat. Sean and Josh, as always, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Cheers.